Faye, the protagonist of Xenogears, suffers deep psychological trauma that he'll spend the entire game trying to reconcile. It's my favorite game of all time, in large part because he is pitted by circumstance to embark on a Jungian hero's journey where he will repeatedly need to contend with his deepest fears. And for much of the game, he fights himself, not wanting to move forward as circumstances drive every reluctant step he takes. He was afraid to face himself and what he might find if he dug too deep. My biggest fear when I started this channel was that it would ruin gaming for me. I was afraid that by tying my favorite hobby to a form of work, I would stop loving it the way I always had. And that's exactly what did happen at first. I couldn't play a game without thinking about how I could make content out of it. I was rushing to beat new releases at breakneck speeds and talk about them quickly like everyone else. I wasn't experiencing games anymore, just simply trying to extract from them my next piece of content. Starting this channel was not on my bingo card last year. I started 2025 at the height of my career in biotech, so how in the hell exactly did we get here? The first time I was asked in grade school what I wanted to be when I grew up, my answer was, matter-of-factly, I want to be a ninja. Over the years, I would fancy being a video game designer, then a writer, then a psychologist, which is what I studied in school, and definitely a writer. That one never left. Which is why, naturally, at the time of being nearly 38 years old, I ended up becoming none of those things. And it's easy to be too hard on ourselves for abandoning our dreams. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, as Lenin famously said, and dreams were a luxury I couldn't afford. So I did the normal adult thing. I joined a low-level position at a biotech company right out of college and worked my way steadily up the ladder over 15 years. It became a high-powered career. I got sent to Switzerland last year. I asked, why send me to run this event when I have European counterparts who could do it for much cheaper? And I was told, because you're the best one on the team to do it. For 15 years, I spent 40 hours a week trying to be someone everyone respected, and I spent almost no time becoming someone I recognized. I love JRPGs so much in no small part due to their common themes of togetherness and of service to something greater. Early in Yakuza Like a Dragon, the protagonist Ichiban is asked to take the fall for a murder he didn't commit, by his boss Arakawa, the man he most respects. Arakawa begs in humility for his request, but Ichiban immediately retorts it should be him begging for all the things Arakawa has done for him, and that it would be his honor to take the fall. And proudly, without batting an eye, he goes off to prison for 18 years. I was a loyal retainer to my place of employment. I had every reason to believe that I would retire there. I thought I was at the height of my career when I got an unexpected call from HR at 8:30 in the morning on an unassuming Thursday. I didn't even feel betrayed. I still felt mostly just grateful for the 15 prosperous years my tenure afforded me. If my purpose had been served, if I was truly no longer needed, there was nothing else I needed to know. And there was nothing for me to say. I thanked them for everything and set off on my way. Working from home, I trudged in shock from my office to my bedroom. I hit the bed to lie face up at my ceiling. My bedside fan soothed me with cool air and white noise. I felt relief. Something clicked deep inside me following that phone call. My utter shock of losing my job wore off quickly. That haze was lifting, and with it came stark clarity that I spent decades hiding from myself. I immediately took action to build this channel, having no clue what I was doing any step of the way. 2 weeks to the day following that phone call, I posted my first, unapologetically terrible video. I knew that video was never going to go anywhere, and that was never that video's point. It was the first step to my personal liberation. I spent the past year exploring what games leave with us after we finish them. I'm beginning to realize I was just trying to answer that question about myself. What did they leave with me? Like virtually every gamer, I've recreationally used the phrase, "I wish I could forget my favorite game so I could play it blind again." But when I put that phrase on paper and forced myself to wrestle with it on a blank page, I realized that was exactly opposite of how I felt about my favorite game. I realized that it means so much to me because of my long-term relationship with it, the way it shaped me as a person and integrated itself with my identity. These must have been feelings that I always felt deep inside, but that I only truly discovered through my process of creation. I find no greater joy than when a commenter thanks me for describing a feeling they always had but could never quite articulate. But the dirty little secret is, inasmuch as I ever offer insight, it's as much a revelation to me as it is to anyone else. Facing the page every day of my life for the past year, and penning my deepest feelings about games revealed that a lot of these feelings are buried in us, until we slow down and lift the veil as if to tell them, it's okay, you're safe to come out now. After a few months into this journey, I started finding my voice. I decided to slow down, play games at my own speed, and focus on what actually mattered to me. The meaning we bring and derive from gaming. The human experience of gaming. When I started to do that, this channel actually made me feel more connected to games than ever. Paradoxically, it cut pretty significantly into my time spent gaming, and that's almost entirely a story of how much time I spend working on this channel. This has become my game. December 29th is my deceased brother's birthday. It's a day every year for me, usually reserved for somber remembrance. Having passed now nearly 30 years ago, at the age of 16, it's easy to think all of the experiences he could never have. Worrying about getting laid off was a concern he'd never imagine. This weird world of YouTube didn't exist back in 1998 when he passed. The problems I was contending with are, against his specter, terrestrial privileges. December 29th was also the date that this channel hit the 1,000 subscriber milestone. It happened pretty late that night, and yeah, I was obsessively refreshing that day so I wouldn't miss the big moment. I'm not much of a drinker at all, but when it finally happened, I poured myself a whiskey on the rocks and meditated on the moment. I meditated on loss and on trying to find a way forward. No matter how hard the year tried to beat me down, I was just grateful to still be in the game, and to have started this new game. YouTube's numerical progression systems get all of my number go up dopamine receptors firing the same way an RPG would. For the first time ever, I really feel like I'm gamifying my actual life. I've made videos about how we bring ourselves to the games we play, and how they imprint on us back in turn, but this is a little different. If I had to explain it, it's like all of the experiences I've spent gaming now for the better part of 40 years are culminating into something. Into this starry-eyed wonder of what these pursuits will teach me, and the primordial human desire to simply create. I used to think the beginning scene in Grandia was long and tedious, but I've ultimately come to appreciate it. You embody the protagonist Justin as he and his friends traipse around a big peaceful city, pretending to be warriors with their wooden swords and pot lids. There's no cataclysm, no inciting event, just this yearning deep inside Justin that he can't stay there. He restlessly needs endeavor, and unlike almost every other RPG, which leverages some threat or catastrophe to set the protagonist in motion, Justin sets out on his journey for himself. Starting this channel, for me, it was, for the first time in decades, my dare to dream. I shrank from adventure in my youth. I locked myself in my starting village, enrolled in community college, and roundly muted that yearning. It was like I fell asleep when I graduated high school and woke up 20 years later. In my videos, I often complain about how many modern RPGs are too long, and I talk a lot about how valuable time is, how it's indeed the most valuable resource we all have. And it's been sinking in more and more lately that every single time I post a video, I'm soliciting the world's time. You're giving me your time right now, and I'm truly honored. That's no small ask, and it's a responsibility I don't take lightly. But speaking of time, here's a paradox. The story is by far what I most strongly value in RPGs. I'm busy and struggle to get through long games on a timely manner. So how often do I watch long plays to just get the story with a fraction of the investment? Absolutely never. Engaging with the game's systems, needing to master them, and struggling along the way is a fundamental part of the experience. It's to that end that mastery became my North Star here. I care chiefly about creating something with each upload that's worth the time I solicit, and the journey of that pursuit is, to me, its own reward. My parents told me all my life that I was a fussy baby. The most reliable way to settle me down was to put me in my dad's lap while he and my uncle were playing on their Nintendo. I'd stare, quietly entranced, while they would play the original Zelda or Final Fantasy. Games and I have been entwined for my entire life. And while societal stigma encouraged me to keep my passion closeted in most settings, starting this YouTube channel was my first act of rebellion. Games, to me, are no longer just guilty pleasures I have in the dark hours of the night. They're experiences I now meditate on and share with the world. Life gets a good deal brighter the moment you stop hiding from who you really are. I spent 20 years of my life hiding from myself. But it's okay. You're safe to come out now.